Hi there folks, welcome to RRTV's ongoing telecast of the Wankel Australia-New Zealand Championship, and we're coming to you live tonight from Monza for round 5 of this championship. But before we get into it, your commentary team tonight is myself, Bernie Weemers, and Luke Emerton. Welcome back, Luke. You put the helmet down for this week, mate.
Yeah, Bernie, hi everyone. Yes, decided after last week's effort I maybe did practice a bit more in these cars before I give it another go, but I really enjoyed myself last week, and but it is good to be back in the comfort of the commentary box with some snacks and some fine company like yourself.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely an exciting race, folks. We have 18 drivers out there at the moment. You've joined us at the right time. We're about to start qualifying, so the guys are going to get about 4 flying laps here to see who's going to be sitting on pole at the end of this qualification.
Yeah, practice seemed to be going pretty well. Not a lot of offs. A lot of the guys practicing their drafting. I know the Fusion Sim Racing guys were running 2 or 3 cars, one behind the other, running a bit of a freight train through there, just testing out the waters with how the draft is going to work. And we harp on about it every week, but it's just so true in these cars, and we just keep going to all these circuits with really good opportunities to tuck in behind another car and get an advantage.
Yeah, well, the drafting, as you said, is going to play a very big part in tonight. Of course, Monza's pretty famous for the drafting, isn't it, and the big, long straights. And the other thing for new viewers here tonight, basically they're going to have a 20 incident point limit, 1 fast repair, and they have 1 mandatory pit stop. For fuel, tyres, they don't have to change, but that always spices it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely does, and we always see some interesting strategies around the place depending on where everyone is positioned along the track. So it'll be definitely interesting to see again tonight whether they play a bit of follow the leader or everyone has a bit of an individual strategy.
Yeah, well, it'll definitely be interesting. And last time we saw Gary Hamilton, which we got on the screen at the moment, he was one of the first to pit, and it was interesting to see. We had some very early pit stop runners. We had most of them that said, we're going to split it 50%, and some of the ones that left it very late. But at the end, all those strategies came together, and we had a good battle. 3 wide it was at Watkins Glen, and it was getting very interesting indeed.
Yeah, you're definitely right, and I've heard talks about the paddock that a lot of people do decide to go that 50% race distance, but they also say that they don't. Some of them don't also go in with a plan. They just kind of decide once they're in there and where their track position is, whether to pit early, late, or just in between. I know for myself, if I'm doing a race that I haven't really done a lot of practice on or not really sure on fuel numbers, I'll just aim for that 50% and then work out from there how much fuel I need by the fuel burn during the race, because a lot of the time I work it out earlier and then you'll end up get caught in battles or you're out by yourself with no draft and end up burning more fuel than what you did in your open practice, and it catches you out.
Yeah, I know a few guys that I spoke to basically look at where they are positioned. If they're in a big battle pack and they're being held up, then they may react early for a pit stop. So, yeah, like all racing, you can have a plan, then you come in to a race and the plan normally goes out the window in the first corner, and then you're reacting. But the good ones will have different strategies they can fall back on. And speaking of qualifying at the moment, that wasn't a good segue at all. We have Tim Delisle out there at the moment. He's set the provisionally fast time of a 1:48.113. If we bring up the top 10, as they stand, Gary Hamilton's 0.4 of a second behind him. Trent Thomas 4/100ths behind Gary, so Trent's out there putting in some great times again. Christopher Oon is sitting in 4th, and rounding out our top 5 is Hakon Grebstad, and he is only probably around about how much slower is he? He's about a second.
Yeah, and that's a good indication, Bernie, as we watch a few of these cars go around, that they're actually in a lone qualifier, so there's no draft, no advantage for any of the guys that may have a couple of teammates in the server. So it's all down to driver's skill, and obviously also being a fixed setup for those that haven't watched the series before. So everyone just jumps in, you can come have a drive, setup's already done for you. All you got to work out is the fuel.
Yeah, well that's right, and it's a good series for that reason, isn't it? Guys turn up, they get in the car, have a blat, then they get on with their week. But Craig Edwards at the moment, he just put in second fastest time here. It was a 1:48.454, jumps him up, as I said, to second, just ahead of Gary Hamilton. So the fast times are starting to come out here, and they're on to about their second to third flying lap.
Yeah, and as we saw at Suzuka the other week, the laps, they seem to get their good ones in normally 1 or 2 laps, and then surprisingly, once the tyre pressures and everything up, it actually falls off a little bit. A lot of them were not setting any faster times on lap 3 and 4. So yeah, the 4 laps is I guess good for if you make a mistake in your first couple, but it seems to be if you get 4 consistent laps, then normally your first or second lap's going to be quickest.
Yeah, well that's it, isn't it? They you know, if you've got a longer qualifying session, you'd actually put in a banker lap, and then you'd probably get more aggressive, wouldn't you, on your fuel, and probably throw fresh tyres on it as much as you could. But this sort of qualifying, where they've only got really 4 flying laps, if they're really confident, they could go out, do a flying lap, come in the pits, chuck a new set of tyres on and go back out again. But I think most of the guys choose to do it in one big go.
Yeah, I just don't think it's worth going in, spending the time. Yeah, you get 15 minutes to do your 4 laps, but just by the time you cycle your out lap, get the heat back into the fresh tyres, go back around, do it again. It just doesn't really seem worth it, especially if you make a mistake on your second lap. Then you don't have time to get your 4th in, pretty much.
Yeah, well, that's it. When you're so limited to time and laps, it's not worth pitting, I don't think. But at the moment, I tell you what, there's a good battle shaping between Gary Hamilton, Craig Edwards, and Trent Thomas is in there as well. But Gary just jumped Craig once again, beat his time. Now it's up to Craig to see if he can react to it. And we have him on the screen at the moment. He's about halfway through his lap, and we'll try and come back to him shortly to see if he can actually improve. But Tim Delisle at the moment, he pretty much set the fastest time, and Gary's close, about 7/100ths of a second, but still not close enough to snatch pole.
Yeah, and it's a good effort by the boys there. The top 10 pretty much covered by about a second, which we've seen consistently throughout this series, and then most of the cars after that are all in the 49s. So this is why we see such good racing in this series, and yeah, should be some good battles throughout the field.
Yeah, it definitely should be. And we just had a look. Tim Delisle improved his time. He set a 1:48.046 and 2/100ths of a second. Now Gary Hamilton, he is in the pits at the moment, finished, but here comes Craig Edwards. What can he do as he's coming through the final corner here to take the checkered flag for qualifying? 1:48.281, and that's not good enough to go to the front row, so he stays in 3rd position.
Yeah, still an excellent lap time there, and I think it was pretty consistent. All 4 of his laps are around that kind of 48.2, 48.3, so as he loses it through the first chicane there. But yeah, the field now seem to be finalising their couple of laps with about 5 minutes to go on the clock.
And we can see at the moment on the screen Joshua Bird, and he's currently sitting in 5th. We'll keep an eye on him because he's a very exciting driver, and he normally throws everything he possibly can at his competitors and qualifiers, and he just underlined that as he took way too much curb there and pretty much threw it into the wall. That wasn't the throwing I meant to allude to.
Yeah, and we've seen the last few weeks as well, these cars are very hard to catch once they get loose, as I experienced firsthand last week, or the other week, sorry. And yeah, I'm just seeing on screen now Gary Hamilton in the chat is saying that typical that he did a 48.006, which would have given him pole, but he had an off track on that lap, which obviously does not qualify you for that lap, it takes that lap off you.
Yeah, so I would call that mind games, but anyway, we'll see. Joseph Falcomata comes across the line now. A 148.907 jumps him up to 8th position. He pushes Scott Newton down. Heath Brennan also drops to 10th, but the person that drops out of the top 10 was Ewan Noralampi. Now, Ewan's finished his quali, and he's had a lot of bad luck, hasn't he, when it comes to this racing. Generally, he suffers quite a bit from netcode issues.
Yeah, I think it was Finland he's from, so he does a good effort to actually get in and make this series to run it. But yeah, one thing we do experience with the iracing servers and many other obviously online games, not just racing, is that the netcode issues where the connection is that poor that the server almost has to have a guess where your car is situated and kind of plonks you on the track willy-nilly around other cars. And for other cars, it's very difficult to judge where you are on track. You can flash in and out, you can disappear for 5 minutes, jump up in the air, come back on the ground. So yeah, it's that can cause a lot of collisions, and also the server thinks you may have hit a car, and when you go back and look at the replay, you've got half a car width or a good half a metre between cars, and it spins you around still.
Yeah, and one of our pit reporters have caught up with Mr. Hamilton and asked him about these mind games, and he just said, I swear I wouldn't play any mind games, and winked at them and walked off. So there you go. But we can see at the moment Luke Whitten, he's out here. I'm not sure if we've seen him in this car before, but he's qualified 13th.
Yeah, the name sounds familiar, and that's not because it's the same as mine, but may have seen him maybe in a Skippy last week when I've jumped back in to do the slower sibling of the Mazda. Had a lot of fun in that as well, but yeah, he's doing a pretty good job if it's his first time out in the car in position 13 as he crosses the line now for a 49.2. A little bit of damage on that front wing end plate, and he's decided to keep it going, and looks like he's still got maybe another lap in hand as well.
Yeah, well, he's the only car out there circulating. Well, I lie. Craig Edwards is, but Craig's pretty much finished his quali, and he's using this as track time, no doubt, testing his fuel load and that sort of stuff. I was going to say setup. He might be getting used to it. It is a fixed setup, and I think you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong here, Luke, but I think they run the same setup, don't they, at every single track, or does Trent actually release a different setup each round?
I'm not sure, Bernie. Being that I've only done one round, I don't really have another set to compare it with. Although I did do some practice laps before. I'll just have a look at my workshop settings for you. I think maybe because on these you've got a few presets that you can actually change, like with the aero and stuff. I think you may actually have a look, but I can't actually load up another set. But I will check that for you, and I'll get back to you next week, because I think he does make a few slight changes, but taking the car out before, it did seem like it was very, very similar to what it felt like last week. But obviously for tracks like Monza, just forgot where I was at, and other larger tracks with bigger straights, etc., Spa, you'd have to definitely at least play with the gear ratios.
Okay, yeah, so he might be doing that. I think the weather's pretty much set, though, from round to round. They're trying to make it as accessible as they possibly can to as many drivers, and we just had Shane van Gisbergen join the server. Hasn't qualified, so it'll be interesting to see if he takes the track from the back and how he goes if he does take to the track. But let's go through the final qualifying here, folks, so you can see, well, the grid really, so you can see where your favourite driver will be starting tonight. So Tim Delisle, he takes pole tonight with a 148.046. Gary Hamilton, he's going to start out a second tonight, and he set a time of a 148.132. In the second row we have Craig Edwards starting from third, and he's joined by Trent Thomas beside him in fourth. Off the third row tonight we have Josh Burden and Hakon Grebstad. Then we have in seventh Christopher Oon, followed by Joseph Falcomata starting out of 8th. Scott Newton, he'll start out of 9th. Out of 10th tonight is Heath Brennan. Ewan Noralampi, he will start out of 11th tonight. And rounding out your top 12 is David Pegler.
Yeah, then we've got Luke Whitten, who we were just watching before, out of 13th. Alex McKellar in 14th, AJ Bear in 15th, a regular to this series. Paul Nelson in 16th, Les Peck in 17th, Tim Awuma in 18th, and as we just saw before, Mr. SVG out of 19th, possibly starting from the back or pit lane.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that and see if he does join. But once again, a great turnout here of the Wankel Australia-New Zealand Championship, and 18, potentially 19 drivers, and that's a good turnout, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely a good turnout. It's been a bit, pretty much the average we've seen all series so far, and it's really, really good as most of the cars are out on the grid now. But yeah, it's creates good racing. It's a good number. It's not like too many cars, and then there's like enough in there to get some really good racing as we're now ready for a green light.
Yeah, so we're in the starters' hands now. The drivers are under starters' orders here, waiting for the green light to drop. It does now as the smoke comes up, and they're away here at Monza for round 5. And at the moment, Gary Hamilton, he's got a great start as we go 3 wide. Tim Delisle on the outside, Gary on the inside, the number 28. I think that's Craig Edwards. Craig takes the lead there from the middle. Oh, there's contact.
Oh, big car, mate.
Trying to get who that was.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think it might have been Trent Thomas actually dropped down. He's slow. Yeah, definitely some front end damage on Trent's car there. As I'm just going to go back and have a look at the replay quickly.
Yeah, he got the 97 got into him, and that's Christopher Oon. And then Trent got barreled by the number 5, and who couldn't get around in time, and that was David Pegler, who's also carrying a lot of damage.
Yeah, and Christopher Oon's just had a massive accident while we were just having a look back. He's actually been rear-ended there by one of the other Fusion sim racing cars, and then also there's been Hakon Grebstad involved as well. So there's all signs of action in this first lap.
Yeah, we're just going to have a quick look at that, folks. I'm going to jump straight up to the front here and so you can see what's going on. But yeah, he did get drilled pretty hard by that Fusion Sim racing car. And then the number 2, as you said, had nowhere to go, did he? The number 2, that was Hakon, was it? It was Hakon.
Yeah, I think so. Off on the inside there, he kind of just almost mounted the car back to front.
Yeah, so after lap 1 here, folks, we have Craig Edwards leading Gary Hamilton for second. Gary's now coming out of the draft to take that position there. Got 8/10 of a gap over Tim Delisle, who's right behind him. So these guys all of a sudden have a big gap, don't they? 4.6 seconds is the gap from Joseph Falcomata up to the leader, and I'd say that was because of the incident. If we have a look, Shane Van Gisbergen at the moment, he is sitting in 5th position and carving his way through the field.
Yeah, I tell you what, this is ridiculous. He's already up to 6th place in the matter of 1 lap from the back of the grid, but he does have some rear end plate damage there, Bernie, so I think he's going to find it a bit hard to pull away from a few of these more season series races, but as he gets a bit loose through the second chicane there, and he's got a big angry pack behind him.
Yeah, he certainly does, and we can see David Pegler with the front wing damage. He's continuing on without too much of a problem. Alex McKellar, he's from the top split. He's currently sitting in 9th. He's up 5 positions, so another good start from him, and we'll see how his race goes as the race unfolds.
Yeah, and he's got Paul Nelson for company, and then we've got Josh Burton, Luke Whitten, and Les Peck in there who was involved. He looks like he got out of that with not too much damage, just a little bit on that front wing, so hopefully that won't affect him too much. And behind that we got Tim Awuma.
And it looks like Ewan Norolampi has retired once again tonight. He didn't even complete 1 lap, and it looks like he might have parked it. Not even sure if he took to the start.
Yeah, it looks like AJ Bear and Heath Brennan there getting the move done in the last corner, going up the inside of Shane. And we'll just see now with those two, see if they can pull away a bit. And Shane's getting all sorts of attention here now from Dave Pegler.
Yeah, you can see Shane now. He's just going to the inside, going to make it 3 wide there. Pegler, ew, nearly 4 wide. Contact.
Big contact.
That was the 82 and the 8. Who was the 82 that got involved there? That reminded me a little bit of a Grand Prix start at Malaysia.
Yeah, except not 2 Ferraris this time. But yeah, it was a bit of a sandwich there. I don't think he really had much choice. Yeah, they went 3 wide into 1. Somebody's got to give a bit of room there. And as Josh Bird now, just that was in front of that group, making a move up the inside of Paul Nelson. We've got a car around. I think that's SVG. Has spun it.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. We're just having a look at this incident with the 82. He was quite mindful. He made sure he stayed off the brakes to roll it off the racing line, but he really had nowhere to go. And you're saying Van Gisbergen has spun. He's down in 13th at the moment. He's right up behind Timo Weimer.
Yeah, he just had a bit of a spin in the second chicane, and these front 3 now, just back up the front. Bernie, Craig Edwards up into 2nd, and then you've got Gary Hamilton and Tim Delias. But I think that's actually going to be 1st, 2nd, and 3rd as the computer will update as they go through the timing.
Yeah, and then Joseph Alcamada out here by himself. AJ Bear, though, he's having a great battle here with Pegler. Pegler's taken him on the inside of Parabolica, and Alex McKellar up to 7th and enjoying his racing here. I spoke to him during the week, and he really does enjoy racing this class. And of course, you see him a lot in the skippies, but he's also enjoying racing these great open wheelers as well.
Yeah, they're just such a fun car to drive, Bernie, when you get them right. They are a bit of a tricky beast to get fast and proper with, but as we see Alex there make a nice move into the first chicane, so moves up another position over David Pegler, and now Josh Burden looking to get in on the action as well.
Yeah, Josh is right on the back of Pegler here. We're riding with him. Out of the slipstream he goes, and he's coming down to, where are we coming to now? Curva Biasano, and oh dear, hold your breath because it's getting interesting there.
Yeah, that was really, really close with the onboard. And he'll tuck up here and see if he can get a move done on this next little straight as he runs it wide. On comes those guys, he's going to fence it. Oh, that's a big incident.
Yeah, oh, he's run into, who was that he hit?
Oh, was that Alex?
That Hakon?
Oh,
no, it was Les. Was that Les Peck? Oh,
he's got
man.
major damage. That's
huge damage.
hard luck.
He can't take a break at the moment. Well, he took a big break that time. He broke the steering, but just having a look at that, and Josh just came out to turn his car around, and Les was on the outside and just had nowhere to go.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. It's a very blind kind of section of track there if you happen to go off on the inside, and very, very unlucky as Craig Edwards now looking to make a move on Gary Hamilton into turn 1.
Yeah, and we're going to see this all night, aren't we, as they get this draft. Gary's now going to tuck back in. At the moment, though, Tim, he's just sitting back there. He's not willing to go ahead, and he's just sitting in 3rd. And I'd say he's trying to save a bit of fuel because, of course, these guys have to do a mandatory stop. Now, if we look at the guys that have done their stop already, Trent Thomas, he took advantage of that and used his fast repair from the first incident, so he should be able to go to the end. Hakon Grebstad also went in and took that advantage of getting that car repaired after the hit he had. Shane Van Gisbergen, he's just done his stop, 10.9 seconds, and he's used his fast repair. So everyone else hasn't stopped yet. As far as the fastest time, that's Shane Van Gisbergen. And the car's in trouble. Well, there's a big long list, isn't there? Josh Burden has retired from this race. We saw him get unstuck. Christopher Oon sitting in the pits, going nowhere. That car had to be towed. Les Peck also in the pits, waiting to get the tow truck unhooked. Scott Newton, he's also had to come in and spend a long time getting that car repaired. Heath Brennan's retired, and so is Ewan Norolampi.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. There's been a very incident-filled first couple of laps here, but the boys will sorted out as we've see a few gaps opening up now. So we've got the front three, then we've got this battle pack now with AJ Bear, Alex McKellar, Dave Pegler, and Luke Whitten there just off the back. A few of these cars showing a few scars from the earlier coming togethers, but still doing a good job, and a few of them might look to pit now on these next few laps, maybe get out of this group and get a bit of an undercut.
Yeah, well, they'll definitely be looking at it, wouldn't they? And I guess if they feel like they're being held up or that they're not going to get the best time out, they'll come in. But here comes Alex McKellar on the inside of Joseph. No, that's AJ Bear. He takes that position from AJ. He's pretty much likes that move, doesn't he, down the inside into the chicane there. It seems like his favourite move of the night so far.
Yeah, and it's interesting because a lot of the time you get caught out, you want to sometimes stay on the outside there, Bernie, so you got the inside for the next left-hander, but if you can make it work around the outside, then go for it. And we've seen him do it twice now already, and he's got that in the bag as one of his secret little weapons there, so it's good.
Yeah, we're riding here with David Pegler. You could just hear him lifting off there, bring the telemetry up, give you an idea what they're cornering here at. 156 kilometres an hour. He just went through Lesmo, and these cars, you can tell the viewers yourself because you raced one last week, but what people are telling me is the downforce in these cars is crazy.
Yeah, you think you need to back off and brake really hard into a corner, but you don't. It just, the downforce obviously increases like any car with more speed. So as we see, as they're coming up to carousel now, it'll be down a gear, but then you hook it in and just plan it. And yeah, saw the same thing at Watkins Glen last week. There's someone up the inside of Dave Pegler there. He's going to be careful. I can't see him on board at the moment, but he's definitely got a car right there in his quarter panel.
Yeah, that's Luke Whitten there. He was having a look, and as we readjust our camera here, you can see Luke now getting a run. He's going to come to the right-hand side of him.
Yeah, so this is the move I was talking about before, Bernie. If you stay on the outside and you can outbrake the other car, try and stick it on the inside of the left-hander, but it looks like he's going to get caught out here because he had the other two cars in front kind of blocking his braking zone. But yeah, quite a lot of downforce, even a little bit of wing damage like that shouldn't hurt the car too much. And yeah, they just turn in on a dime, but very easy to get some snap oversteer as well coming into a corner if you kind of hook it in too quick on say one of these chicanes.
Yeah, these chicanes, I find this is what makes Monza a challenge, is the hard braking into all these chicanes. If you don't have your brake balance right, it's very, very easy to come unstuck there and loop the car. But at the moment, most of them are doing a good job. We just saw Alex there get passed by AJ Bear. He's falling into the hands of David Pegler now, but of course these long straights are crazy for the slipstreamers, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, and as we said before, Bernie, it's going to be happening all night unless somebody makes a mistake. That's about the only way we've seen them kind of get any sort of gap, which is why these kind of groups have gapped out a bit, only due to the incidents that we're in between. As we've still got Joseph Falcomata here in fourth. He's having a very lonely race just ahead of that battle pack that we're just watching. But then this battle up front, heating up these three, you can throw a blanket over him, and I think it's going to be like all races. Craig Edwards now looking down the inside possibly, and into the first corner, and Gary Hamilton is still leading.
Yeah, and I saw there Tim Delisle. Normally he's lifting and letting these two fight for it, but he decided to try his hand. He's up to second now, and no doubt with 11 laps to go, he's just testing to see if he's got how much pace he's got with these guys, and no doubt he's going to start, I guess, probing to find out where their weak spots are, and starting to rehearse what he's got to do in 11 laps time. But of course we've got pit stops coming, and no one else has stopped yet apart from those that we went through earlier.
Yeah, so it seems like they're stretching out a bit. Not a lot happening further down in the field. There's a few guys running around. Trent Thomas still running around by himself, and Scott Newton down in 15th. And then we come back to our leaders. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, these guys have got a fairly large gap now back to that second lot of cars. and also 4th place. Excuse me. So we'll see how they go, and it looks like Alec McKenna has got back around AJ Bear again.
Yeah, he's coming under pressure again as AJ gets that slipstream right behind him, though. You can see now Luke Whitten, he's looking at making a move on David. He tucks back in, but it's interesting. We've got a battle pack of 3 up front, then we've got Joseph by himself, then we've got a battle pack of 2, potentially 4 back here. So, yeah, a lot of exciting racing going on.
Yeah, now Luke's got a really good run out of the last chicane there, and coming to carousel, he's up the inside. He's going to nearly get this move done already before the corner. So although Dave Pegler has just kept it held around the outside and actually managed to hold position, but I think he'll be very lucky to hold this into the first corner as they dive into the... Oh, he's made a mistake! Nearly ran straight into the wall, into the pit entry there, Dave Pegler.
Well, he's taken out a safety cone. So we'll have a look at that, because he came right across, didn't he? And he's actually taken out a safety cone, so it'll be interesting to see if he actually gets a penalty for this.
Yeah, he may get a unsafe pit entry, but that was real last minute, and he was almost lucky not to take out the car in front there as well.
Yeah, well, that was Alex McKellar in there that dived in, and I think David thought he'd react, but he got a bit caught out, didn't he, on how quickly he had to slow down or decelerate, because of course he was flat out in front of Luke Whitten, cut across Luke, and found he had nowhere to go.
Man, that was very, very close. I just watched that in super slow-mo, and it looks even more hard in mouth when you're watching it in real time.
Yeah, it certainly does, doesn't it? And he was very lucky he didn't collect that wall, but he's out there at the moment, so he mustn't have got an unsafe pit entry. But I was having a look at Luke there, and, you know, he had the inside line, but I was wondering, you know how you're saying you've got to really trust these cars and the high downforce and the lack of braking. I have a feeling he's still adjusting to that, because David held his line around the outside and actually made ground on him.
Yeah, I found that as well, Bernie. I was saying, I'm braking so late, you know, like 70 metres or something like within 100 metres, and everyone was having a laugh at me and saying, you need to brake at like 50, if that. So yeah, they are very hard to get used to. They pull up so well as well, Bernie, as well as the downforce. So yeah, in a corner like that, you probably just need to roll out of it even maybe, and then turn the corner pretty much. So yeah, maybe just washed off a little bit too much speed.
Yeah, we've got Craig Edwards and Tim Delisle in here now in the pits together. Gary Hamilton stayed out, so we'll see. There goes Craig Edwards, Tim Delisle. So their pit stops. Craig Edwards did a 12.5 second stop. Tim Delisle 13.01 seconds. Joseph Falcomata's now coming out as well. He did a 13.6 second stop. And Alex McKellar coming around now. He's got Shane Van Gisbergen on his tail. Both of these guys are stopped, and Alex did an 11.27 second stop as Shane Van Gisbergen is almost bump drafting him. What's he going to do? He's just sitting there. He doesn't want to take the move.
Yeah, it's unusual. I'm not sure why, but yeah, it's a bit interesting play there. Maybe he's just biding his time. But you think he'd have the pace to easily make a move around there and start to pull away, but now he's going to fall into the trap of having the two cars behind of who's that back there, Dave Pegler and Hakon Grabstad actually catching up to him and giving him a bit of pressure. Yeah,
I reckon he's just out there having a good time tonight and probably winding down from Bathurst. And as we can see now, Gary Hamilton's coming into the pit, so let's keep an eye on this. The guys that have not stopped is Gary Hamilton taking his stop now. AJ Bear hasn't stopped, neither has Luke Whitten, nor has Paul Nelson or David Pegler. So we'll see where Gary comes out and whether he's going to come out in front of Craig Edwards, Tim Delisle. As we can see in the background now, AJ Bear, Luke Whitten into the pits.
Yeah, so one car just coming out of the pits now, so we'll just see whereabouts they come out. AJ Bear's in as well. Luke's in.
Yeah, Gary's now coming out. You can see in the background Craig Edwards, Tim Delisle. They're going to get him too wide down here. Where's Gary coming out? Yes, look at that.
Easy.
Easy.
Oh, I'm looking at the front on view. It looked a lot closer as he was coming out. I'm like, don't pull out there, don't pull out there.
Yeah, so his stop was 13.5 seconds, so the slowest out of the three here. The fastest pit stopper was Craig Edwards, and he's got the lead. No, he's in second behind Tim Delisle. But the thing is here, Luke, they've got a gap now on Gary Hamilton, and depending on what that gap is, he's going to have a hard time if he drops out of that slipstream.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, Ben, these two might want to try and work together and not fight each other too much, and just use their draft to try and escape Gary there a bit, you know, and then maybe leave the battling till the last couple of laps. I found in the skippies the other week, or on Monday night, that if you're not battling, if you just work with the draft, like when you're a single car trying to catch those couple of guys in front of you, it's very, very difficult to catch up because they're just using the draft and they're pulling each other along pretty much.
Yeah, as we see now, Craig using that draft, he goes past Tim Delisle, but you can see in the background Gary Hamilton is closing back in, and that was exactly what you were saying, isn't it? If these two fight, then Gary, he just rubs his hands together and go, great, I can catch up, here comes Tim again. And they are not really working together, and that's going to bring Gary back into this fight.
Yeah, that's right, I'm just on board with Gary now, and you can see the difference that it makes as they come onto the straight. He'll almost be getting just a real slight kind of pull up behind these two as they go down too wide, making the hole in the air a bit bigger. But yeah, these two really need to just sort their stuff out and see if they can pull away a bit more. But at this rate, Gary's going to catch them very, very quickly, because they're also compromising their braking zones as well, as Gary closed right up in that braking zone and has now, you know, gained a car length at least into that first corner, because they're obviously having to brake a little bit earlier to try and run into each other.
Yeah, and that gap when they came across the start-finish line, Gary was actually out of the slipstream. It was 1.3 seconds, but have a look at it now. With these two fighting, he is well and truly back up. So he's closed over 1.3 seconds in the space of a couple of chicanes here, because these two are still fighting out front.
Oh, he's run a bit wide there. He's gathered it back up though. He didn't fence it like we saw before, but like that gap is now really, really closed in. Yeah,
and he's just being patient here and slowly closing in. He'll be right on their backsides before this lap's out, or just after this lap when they come back into the heavy braking. Now looking at Joseph Falcomata having a very lonely race here, but behind him David Pegler, Shane Van Gisbergen and AJ Bear are going at it, and Shane was actually out on the dirt there. Now we'll see what he's doing. He's tucking in there. He's not going to make a move yet. He's just sitting there, and who's that coming up behind him? Alex McKellar. So we've got a battle pack here of about 6 cars potentially.
Yeah, so the pit stops have really brought all these cars back together. A few of them were running around a bit lonely there. Shane has really got that wing tucked up under the rear diffuser, and AJ Bear now getting a 2-car draft. Looks on the inside, but thinks better of it. Coming into the carousel, and this is, I'm going to say 6 wide into the first corner, Bernie. They're all just going to fan out.
Right, okay. We'll see here. We can see now the equivalent of DRS for drafting. As we can see now, Alex McKellar, he's in front of Luke Whitten. Hakon Grebstad having a crack here. Yep, we've got 3. Oh.
3 and 3, does that make 6? Oh, Shane cuts a nose off. And comes in very, very tight as AJ kind of cut the corner there a bit. Surprised if he doesn't get a cut track for that.
Just have a look at this. So just having a look at this under brakes. As you said, he could get a cut track, but he didn't really have far to go, or many ways to go, did he? Because Shane was quite aggressive on the way he was squeezing him there. But meanwhile, David Pegler and AJ Bear are going at it. Shane's got past them. He's starting to stretch his legs and leaving this battle pack behind him. Alex McKellar is in 8th, Luke Whitten 9th, Hakon Grebstad is in 10th. But looking back up the front, Gary Hamilton, he just had the lead. He's now fighting for the top 3 positions. Craig Edwards just got the slipstream past him, but no doubt he'll get another run. Tim Delisle sitting back there in 3rd.
Yeah, another good group. It's hard to know where to watch, as these 3 will probably fan out as well. And it's Tim Delisle there decides to tuck up behind Gary, because Gary had the best run. Now they're going to go 3 wide into turn 1. This can only end one way unless somebody gives way here. Yeah,
well, Craig went very, very wide, didn't he, on the inside there? Let those 2 fight, and that's moved Tim Delisle up to temporarily 2nd, but Craig got the better run off the chicane there and snatched that back. But look, now Gary Hamilton is starting to get a gap on these 2.
Yeah, and the same thing can happen in reverse, Bernie, as well. Even though you're a single car, if you're leading and the 2 behind you are battling it out, you can see them lose out a lot more as well. So hopefully they learn their mistakes from before and see if they can work together to try and stay with Gary, because Gary is just going to start stretching this lead.
Yeah, well, they're playing into Gary's hands, aren't they, by fighting, and you can just see that gap stretching now. And I could just hear Gary, he'd be saying, "Go ahead, boys, fight it out, see you later."
Yeah, pretty much. He's checked out to a couple of car lengths lead already now, and he's just trying to break the draft. I don't think he needs to worry about that too much.
No, I don't think so. We'll get back to them shortly, but the battle still continues. We can see AJ Bear now trying to reel Shane Van Gisbergen back in. Shane is throwing down the gauntlet and saying, catch me if you can. We'll see if they can. David Pegler here is behind Alex McKellar. Then we've got Hakon Grebstad, Luke Witten battling it out.
Yeah, so it looks like Pegler might have dropped a few spots there, Bernie, while we were away at the leaders. Might have had a small mistake somewhere. Alex McKenna doing a good job just in front. So yeah, Alex has managed to get round in there somewhere. Must have just dropped the wheel off, and then we got a good little battle with Grebstad and Witten.
Yeah, they're having a good fight, aren't they? And I think Witten's still getting used to these cars, but he's doing a great job there, sitting in 10th position, and he's up 4 from where he started. But meanwhile, up front, the gap Gary Hamilton had was 0.6 of a second. But once again, they close back up here. Craig Edwards 2nd, Tim Delisle 3rd. Joseph Falcamata, he is being closed down by Shane Van Gisbergen, but here comes AJ Bear on the inside. He takes that position. Shane does not fight that and lets him go through. Alex McKellar now past David Pegler, which we said, and he's trying to bridge that gap.
Yeah, it was AJ's done really well there to reel in that gap. Shane, after the move the lap before, had pulled out 2 or 3 car lengths, and but now he pulls right up behind AJ again. It looks like he might just stick him behind him for half a lap, maybe conserve some fuel, or just wait for the right move. And the battle pack behind him there, Alex and Dave and Grebstad and Witten has really closed up, as Witten pokes the nose out, does a quick look, won't get him through there, so he's going to tuck him behind. Very difficult to overtake there. That corner tightens a fair more than you'd think on the outside, and same with this one, as we see them both run wide. So yeah, not really a good place to make a move, but this pack just bunching up a bit more.
Yeah, we can see now Van Gisbergen on the back of AJ Bear here, again tucking in. He's decided, he's nearly lost it there and gathered it up, and thought he was going to go into the wall for a moment.
Yeah, some good car control there, but it's made him vulnerable now, and Alex McKellar will be looking to take advantage, possibly through the carousel, as he's pulling up that gap very, very quickly. And might wait till the straight here, or just try and stick to his gearbox and have a run into the first corner.
Yeah, and Alex is up 7 positions from where he started. You can see now getting in the toe, going right over to the right of the track now. He's pulling back out. You can see the slipstream starting. I'm not sure if he's going to be close enough to have a go here. No, he's lifting, and decided he'll hold on to that position for the time being.
Oh, the 2 boys behind nearly run into each other. It looked like Dave Pegler just broke a little bit harder there than what Hakon was expecting, but they managed to avoid each other and keep going. But this group now are really, really aggressive with only a couple laps to go.
Yeah, 3 laps to go here at Monza, folks, and it's starting to heat up. Meanwhile, up front, the top 3 continue battling. And Craig Edwards, Gary Hamilton continue swapping spots. Tim Delisle, he's happy sitting back at the moment in third, which we've seen him do for most of this race. And he's probably now starting to ponder where he's going to start making his moves.
Yeah, so Gary now having to be very, very careful as Craig might take advantage now of trying to pull away, but Tim definitely close enough now to get a move done into the carousel or even onto the main straight here.
Yeah, we're riding with him on the gyro cam. You could actually hear him lifting, and he decided he wasn't going to show his hands there. We'll ride with him down this straight and we'll see what he does, because he's definitely in the tow. And 2 laps remaining here. What's he going to do? He's in the tow. He's now coming and he's lifting.
Thought he was going to hit him then for sure.
Oh, they're getting a bit racy up here, aren't they?
Yeah, and Tim's going to get a really good run out of there. That was a really good line through that first chicane. And yeah, Gary once again back up into first, but this is going to be on for young and old with 2 laps to go.
Yeah, he's having a look now on the inside of Craig. I think he's going to have to make this move.
Oh, come on, throw it in there. You could have both ends, surely. Hit later on the brakes. I would have been in there.
You're now starting to sound like Mr. Scott Stevens there.
It's the aggressive race driver, white line fever. But yeah, Tim did a good job there. Just got the 1 position. Managed to hold Craig. Craig had no choice there. He couldn't pull out to try and overtake Gary. He had to stay on that outside and made the move a lot easier.
We just lost Falcomata. He's gone around. Oh, and who else? Luke Whitten's gone with him. Joseph was having quite a nice drive there until he got caught up by AJ Bear. AJ didn't know where he was going to make this move. Let's have a look on the slow-mo and we'll see exactly. Yeah, he hit the ripple strip and went off big time. Just let's have a look. Yeah, Luke's done a similar thing, but he did it on the first ripple strip, and a bit of pirouette ballet dancing between the two.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate for Joseph. He was quite comfortable there in fourth. I think that could be part of the fact that he was by himself for such a long race, Bernie, and you get a bit complacent. You're just lapping, and it actually does sometimes become harder to concentrate when you run around by yourself like that. And then when you do get a group of cars catch you, you're woken up and then it's too late by then. You make a small mistake because you feel the pressure.
Okay, but look at down the front here, the last lap, folks. When they went across that line last time, Tim Delisle was behind Craig Edwards by 0.004 of a second. Gary Hamilton was down 0.02 of a second. And as they go through here, once again, Gary Hamilton now takes Tim Delisle. Craig Edwards is saying, catch me if you can. And we'll see if they come back across the line 3 wide, and if they do, it's going to be an incredible finish here.
Yeah, I was just still in replay mode then and saw the 3 of them go across the line, and yeah, it was almost like a full finish. And this is going to be excellent if they all get a good run out of this last corner. It's going to be a photo finish for sure.
Yeah, well, you can see what they're trying to do now is they're weaving. First time we've seen them do this, because of course they're trying to break that draft. Tim Delisle, I think he's been caught out a bit here. Under brakes here into the chicane. He's hit the inside. I don't think he's going to play a part in this, and it's going to be between Gary Hamilton and Craig Edwards for the win.
Yeah, and Craig now, they're almost looking nervous the way that they're jittering around, and he's got a good run, but I don't know, I wouldn't write Mr. Tim off yet. He's pretty close. Oh, these two get real close around there, and he's run wide. Oh, he's way off in the sticks, but he's still got the power down. This could be easily photo finish. Tim's got a great run.
As they come across now the start-finish line, who's going to take it?
Oh.
Okay.
What a great finish.
We'll go back to super slow-mo in a minute once this race is finished, but at the moment we can see AJ Bear. He's going to come across for 4th. Alex McKellar, great drive there coming home, 8 positions up from where he started in 5th. David Pegler will finish in 6th. 7th will be Shane Van Gisbergen, who's now
he's out of fuel.
Yeah,
he's out of fuel.
Yeah, he did the fastest stop, a 10.9 second stop, and he's pretty much out of fuel. I think he just pulled it up short of the line.
Yeah, it's unfortunate he's not going to make the finish there, but that was an amazing finish there, Bernie. Absolutely ridiculous. Those guys, even with that wide run, and they've come across 3 wide, and that was pretty much identical to how they came across in the lap beforehand.
Yeah, and we're going to the super slow-mo here just to see the final finishing positions here, folks. So we're on to super slow-mo, and beautiful finish. The cars look beautiful at this angle. No, we're calling a race, aren't we? So having a look across here, we can see Tim Delisle. He got a great run, and Craig Edwards went wide, of course, but it looks like Tim Delisle is going to take this, or is he? As we come to the line, no. Gary Hamilton snatches the win. Is that how you saw it?
Yeah, by my camera angle, it looked like Tim had that, and then right at the end, well, I can't split that, Bernie. I can really not split that. Those two, it looks like Tim might have taken that, but Gary has taken it by 0.081 of a second at the end there, and it was only 0.1 back. But if you have a look at this photo, it's absolutely from TV2. If you can get that on for your viewers, there's nothing in that. I can't pick it without the timing screen. It actually did look like Tim got that.
Yeah, we'll go back and have another look at this and go to super slow-mo. We had a look from the gyro. Let's have a look now from super slow-mo and TV2, as you said.
Yeah, just going frame by frame, pretty much the last 3 frames, and I can't pick a winner out of that. It looks like they both crossed that yellow line pretty much bang on.
Yeah, we're seeing that now as they come across. I'm checking oh yeah, it was bang on, wasn't it? Pretty much. That without computer monitoring, that would have been a dead heat for sure. But let's go and have a look at the official results, and then we'll have a word with Gary Hamilton. But Gary looks very, very happy with his performance as we see the replay of him doing his little zigzag down the front straight. So let's have a look at our race results. So Gary Hamilton takes the win tonight. Looking at that gap, I don't know. My telemetry pretty much isn't calling it, but it'd have to be thousandths of a second, if that. But yeah, excellent win to Gary Hamilton. Craig Edwards second. Tim Delisle, he was close, but he finished in 3rd position there, so that was interesting. Craig held on the outside and still finished in 2nd. AJ Bear comes home 4th in front of Alex McKellar in 5th. 6th tonight was David Pegler. Then we had Hakon Grebstad coming home in 7th. Shane Van Gisbergen came home in 8th after running out of fuel and pulling it up. He moved up 11 positions. He's the equal with AJ Bear for the biggest mover tonight. Joseph Falcomata, he comes home in 9th. Luke Whitten 10th. Home in 11th was Trent Thomas. Tim Awima, he finished in 12th position. In 13th tonight was Paul Nelson, followed by Les Peck in 14th. 15th, Scott Newton, and Christopher Oon comes home in 16th position. Josh Burden retired and was classified 17th, so he's the biggest shaker tonight. And Heath Brennan and 18, Ewan Lampe did not complete a lap and was classified 19th.
Yeah, and for any of our viewers that want to go see a still photo of that, I'm going to put it up on the Discord for iRacing for the Australian community, the V8's online one, and I'll also try and put it on the WANC forum, which everyone can go have a look at on iRacing, and I'll also send a copy to you, Bernie, so if anyone wants to have a look, they can look on the RRTV Facebook page.
No worries, but not so quick, because that was the wrong finish line according to the viewers. They were finishing the race on the first finish line, not the second finish line. So aren't we a bunch of you-know-whats?
Well, do you know what? I'm going by that finish line because that was better. And they kept racing until that finish line.
All right, let's go with that.
Yep.
And we'll just pretend. Maybe I can Photoshop the first finish line in there or something. So, excellent finish there by all three. But we do have Gary Hamilton in the green room. So let's bring him up. Did you want to have a chat with him, Luke?
Yeah, I'll have a chat, Benny, no worries.
Or are you too busy posting on Facebook?
Oh, a bit of both, but I can multitask.
Alright, here he is.
Welcome, Gary, to the RRTV commentary box, and congratulations on the win tonight. Very, very close, 0.081 of a second, and photo finish there. So, yes, congratulations.
G'day guys, yeah, thank you. Yeah, very close. I knew that one was always going to be a close one, but honestly I had no idea how that was going to finish. Even with one corner to go, I wasn't sure what was going to happen.
Yeah, we were all hanging in there, and we kind of wrote Tim off there, but he came back and had a really good run on you on the inside, and we actually watched it, and the photo that I've taken is of the second finish line, which apparently they use the first one for the timing, but we're going to claim that it's that second one because you guys raced all the way to that one, and if it was that finish line, I don't think we would have picked it.
Yeah, no, I saw Tim coming there, and at the moment I'm racing sort of Craig in that championship, and so it was really important for me to try and beat Craig. I really thought he was going to go defensive, in that last turn, and he didn't. So I just tried to make that move as late as possible to try and get it in there deep, and I think it worked. Craig looked like he ran a bit wide, and that gave me enough of a run, but it was, it also compromised my run a little. So straight away, when I was on the inside, I was like, okay, that's good. And then I was in the rearview mirror, and I'm just watching him coming, and I'm like, here it goes.
Yeah, he lost track out of the last chicane, but really made up a lot of time after the other car ran wide around the outside. But yeah, how'd you find the racing tonight? The setup was pretty good as always, and some good close racing. But the front three there, he's pretty much pulled away after a few laps, but it was a good battle all race. And after the pit stops, you were the longest out of the three, but you managed to make up that time quite easily in the draft.
Yeah, I have to. I didn't have the best in lap, so I was trying, of course, because those two pitted behind me, and that's when you're in a battle like that with a setup like this that relies on tow, that's a disadvantage. So it's that was good of them, a bit sneaky. So I had to push and try to do the best lap I could to minimise that sort of loss there. But I made a mistake, and I thought, I don't know how that's going to go. And then I'm not sure on the fuel. I might have actually gone a little bit too much. So just those things combined, yeah, made up for that. And as soon as, with this set though, and being fixed with such a large aero tow, even if they had 2 second gap, I still would have been comfortable. So I think it was about 1.8 when I came out.
Yeah, no, it's good and very entertaining. We found all the way through the field was quite close racing. Again, a few battle packs, 4 and 3 cars, and it seemed like the pit stops did bring a lot of the cars back together. So yeah, all in all, a good race, and looking forward to seeing us out there next week. So any sponsors that you'd like to thank before we let you go this evening?
Yeah, so shout out there to Dynamic Sim Racing, Darling Downs Ballistics, and Will Power with his new clothing there. So if you jump online there to 12willpower.com, he's got a bit of a few shirts that he makes now. So get into it. And thanks to you guys again. It's always good. I always jump off and go watch because I have no idea what else happened in the race. So it's always really good to watch. And yeah, thanks a lot.
Excellent. And I'll pass you on to Bernie, but yeah, look forward to next week. I'm not sure where we're at, but yeah, always some good racing wherever we are in this series. So yeah, I'll see if Bernie's got any questions for you, and we'll let you go.
Yeah, fantastic driving, Gary. We're just having a look at the super slow-mo at the first finish line there, and to see how close that gap was, but it was mighty close. I tell you what, you looked very happy though when you took that win.
Oh yeah, because like I said, I have no idea who's going to win it, and it's funny because throughout a race like that, you are kind of sizing the tow up. Where they're quick, where they're not quick. I mean, pretty much the same everywhere, but just sort of having a look. So the first half of the race is pretty much we're not really trying to pass each other all the time. We're just kind of letting each other go, and after the pit stop, then you'll notice it was probably a bit more aggressive. So I try to pass on Craig into chicane there, and just to see what it was like to turn in from the inside. That helped me later for when I was racing Tim, so we were quite close, I think. And going into that last lap, my plan was to be second. I think that was everyone's plan because that didn't work, and I ended up third. So I really had to race to get to second, and then, going into that last turn, it worked out. So I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, and we noticed, I thought you were going to be dropped off there for a bit, but the other two were fighting, and you definitely showed a lot of patience and in how you basically plugged away and took that 1.3 second deficit. Within half a lap, you were back on top of them.
Yeah, I mean, when we're all that close, it's a fixed set. That's what it's great for. It's you'll see the times at the top of qualifying always extremely close. So no one has that advantage in the race, So as long as you're not making a mistake, you're going to get the tow. And even if there's two guys in front working together, you can generally get almost a double tow from them anyway. So you really need to break out over 2 seconds, especially at somewhere like Monza, to drop that off. So that worked out all right.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I think you've done your sponsors, haven't you? If not, let's do them.
No, I have. Thank you very much. I don't think everyone wants to hear me waffle on too much.
All right, no worries, Gary. Well done. Fantastic win. Thanks for entertaining us all tonight with you, Craig and Tim. And hopefully we'll see you back next week.
Yeah, thanks. Actually, that's one, or two people I should thank, is Tim and Craig. As you saw, being able to race sometimes very, very close without touching. You can't do that with everybody, and we managed to have really hard races with, rarely touching and no crashes, which is great. So thanks to those guys.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, go and celebrate with them on the step up there, and make sure you don't have a shoey.
Now I'll just kick it off into the crowd.
Yeah, why not? All right, Gary. See you, mate.
Catch you guys.
So that was our race winner tonight, folks, Gary Hamilton. And I tell you what, Luke, wasn't that an entertaining race?
Yeah, it definitely was, and I'll make sure I look at my notes next time before we call a photo finish. But either way, it was nice and exciting for the viewers, and can't wait for next week.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. I think we should still post that up and claim that was the finish. We did go back to super slow-mo during the interview and had a look, and Gary had won it by a car length, but Craig and Tim were very, very close to second and third there, so it was still a very good finish and very entertaining. Hopefully the viewers really loved it as well. I'm sure they would have, because there was a lot of action in that race. Yeah,
there was, and once again, just the couple of packs that formed, and was some really exciting racing all round, and managed to hopefully do a good job of getting all the battles in that we could, because there's just so much happening at once. You almost need to run split screen to be able to watch the two different cameras.
Yeah, that's right. And Trent's just got in the chat channel and told me next week is Bathurst. So that's going to be on. If we get 19 Pro Mazdas on Bathurst, I think that's going to be a very, very enjoyable round, that's for sure.
Yeah, I tell you what, you might even get a few extras on that grid next week, Bernie. As we know, no matter what kind of series is running that track, you seem to get a few people come out of the woodwork just because it's such a good track to run, and it's obviously the most famous one in Australia pretty much, so you get a lot of people that will jump in and see a server with Bathurst and have a red hot crack.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're watching this stream either live tonight or replay, and you think you would like to have a run in this, well, go over to the Australia-New Zealand road racing forums and look up the Wankel Australia-New Zealand Championship, and you can contact Trent through there. If you're actually watching this from overseas and you want to have a go at it, just message Trent Thomas in the iRacing Messenger, and he'll be able to get back to you. But I tell you what, I'd love to see a field of 30 of these guys going at it, and hopefully we will get to that at some point.
Yeah, no, that'd be really good, and I think it'll only get more and more popular once more and more people see how great the racing is all the way through, and with the more cars you'd be getting the bigger battle packs as well, so yeah, really good.
Yeah, and it's a fixed setup series, so it's very, very friendly for people who are time poor, who love their racing, just want to come in, have a good run. This is a sort of event they should be looking at, because it's not down to how many hours you spend in the setup. It's down to everyone gets the same setup, and it's down to driver ability pretty much, and that's why this series is such an awesome series.
Yeah, that's right. And proved last week, you can just jump in and have a good go, and it's quite fun. And everyone takes it like not too serious, so you get some good racing, and not have to worry about I rating or safety rating or anything like that. Is always good.
So what we need to do this week, Luke, is we need to find a commentator for next week, so we can then throw you back into the Pro Mazda at Bathurst, so we can hear you screaming from the top of the hill to the bottom of the hill.
That sounds about right. I might only make it halfway down, but we'll get the car repaired after last week. There's some fairly significant damage for those that were watching last week with the car, so definitely, hopefully, have it back. And if we can rope somebody else in, I'd be happy to go out there and see how many laps I can complete before fencing it once again.
Yeah, I might put a call out to our commentators and see if we can get someone up here to, because I reckon you'd have a great time at Bathurst in a Pro Mazda. I reckon you'd really enjoy fencing it up there.
Yeah, for sure. There's plenty of walls to hit up there, so the problem I'd have would be picking the right one to do it in. So we'll see how we go, but it's going to be very interesting to see the Pro Mazda and down through the dipper there, where you might get most of the car airborne the way they're stiffly sprung. So we'll see how we go.
Yeah, definitely. But as far as the rest of the week of racing on RRTV goes, folks, we have one more broadcast this week, and that's tomorrow night, the Thursday night Thunder NASCAR trucks. They're going to Talladega, and it's a plate race. If you're wondering what that is, they're basically all restricting the top end power, and you're going to see some pretty amazing drafting going on. When they come into the pits, they're going to have to come in with a pack, because if they come in by themselves, they're just not going to catch up again. So if you like your, I guess you could call it match racing, very high speed, dense pack racing, join us tomorrow night, 8:25pm GMT plus 11, and I've got Ryan Shelton in the combox with me, very early for Ryan over there, Luke. I think it's about 5 in the morning, South Carolina time, so we're very lucky to have him come in and call that with me.
Yeah, no, that's good. And as we know, Bernie, a lot of the guys from the States are absolutely passionate about their NASCAR, so it's good to have someone, a local, that's got a bit of knowledge on the subject and can bring out some good commentary as well.
Yeah, exactly right, and I'm starting to learn the intricacies of NASCAR, and I've got a long way to go because there's quite a few of them. But I did speak to one of the drivers today, and they were basically saying when they get into these big packs, they keep it flat to the floor and they do not lift. And he said when you're in a pack of, say, 10 cars doing that, it gets very, very stressful. So we'll see that tomorrow night anyway. Yeah,
I always found oval racing a little bit boring until I got iRacing and got on there and started racing the truck series and stuff like that. And the super speedways are my favourite, Bernie. Like Daytona and stuff like that, where you just hold it flat. And yeah, you're right. You look at it from outside, and sometimes you think, oh, that's easy. They're just going to turn left, and that's about it. But yeah, in that draft, you're actually full pinned throttle, and you're relying on the car in front to guide you around the corner. And once you get a little bit loose, then all hell breaks loose, and it's so fun. But yeah, the restricted plate racing is awesome.
Yeah, it certainly is, and that's what we'll be treated to tomorrow night. And of course, since the last update, the multiple lines on the track are starting to work, coming in now. So like last weekend we watched, and the inside line seemed to be the way to go, but then it started getting, mid-line started coming in, and it makes for interesting racing. But anyway, folks, that's tomorrow night. Tonight was the Wankel Australian-New Zealand Championship. Before we go though, Luke, is there any final thoughts on tonight's race you wanted to tell the viewers?
No, it's really good racing again, and it's good. It's not as predictable either. We're seeing some multiple winners and also new winners throughout the last 5 rounds, and it always keeps us guessing, especially like that final corner tonight. So yeah, just a great series, and encourage everyone to get out there and have a go in it. And yeah, you might see me out there next week.
Yeah, hopefully we will, and I'll see what I can do. But anyway, folks, I hope you've enjoyed our coverage tonight of the Wankel Australia-New Zealand Championship. If you did like our broadcast, give us a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, let me know what we need to change to make it better. And yeah, all that support does go a long way for our small channel here. But anyway, folks, until tomorrow night, I hope you have a fantastic week. We're pretty much at hump day today, so it's all downhill from here for the weekend. And until then, folks, on behalf of Luke Hamilton, I'm Bernie Weemers. Thanks for joining us on RRTV, and we look forward to your company again soon. Good night.